Welcome to another episode of Cafe Long Island. I'm Marcia McNair, and today I'm going to be interviewing Larry Montgomery, who is the editor-in-chief and publisher of the Community Journal, which is Long Island's oldest African-American newspaper. In addition, I'll get a chance to talk to Anthony Cruz, who is the chief chef and the owner of Loli Soul Food and Catering. Now, why is Cafe Long Island focusing on business in Long Island? Well, we have a number of reasons. For one thing, the once thriving downtown areas in places like Hempstead and Freeport and Uniondale, they've become economic wastelands, and we all know what the cause of that is. Everywhere you look on Long Island, malls are popping up, and we're all running to the malls to eat, to buy our clothing, to just do everything, just to even to socialize. And so that's why our downtowns have basically gone downhill. And it's really unfortunate because downtowns used to be the social and the cultural and the financial heart of any community. So we at Cafe Long Island want to be a part of seeing that change. And all across the country, they're making an attempt to revitalize downtown areas. And I think it's because they know, as Malcolm X said, that owning and patronizing our own businesses is the key to economic empowerment. Cafe Long Island wants to see our downtowns become the social, cultural, and financial centers they used to be. I'm here with Larry Montgomery, the CEO of Emerging Business Group and the outspoken publisher and owner of the Community Journal, the oldest African-American newspaper on Long Island. The newspaper's motto is building communities through positive communication. Larry, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, and God bless.
Thank you. I can certainly use it. Anyway, I know you've lived in Baldwin for a number of years, but were you born and raised here?
I was born in East Meadow, and we lived there for a short period. We stayed in the village of Hempstead, right on Franklin, I'm sorry. And then we moved to Rockaway Beach, stayed there for about 10, 12 years. I left there at age 13 and came back to Hempstead. I was actually in the last class that graduated from the old high school building.
You went to Hofstra University. What did you major in there?
I majored in, before I went to Hofstra, I went to Nassau. And I majored in BidWis, also African American history and business. But then when I got to Hofstra, I majored in banking, finance, and investment.
So your focus at Hofstra was business, which makes me wonder, how did you wind up becoming the publisher of Long Island's only African-American weekly newspaper?
The founder of the paper was Gary Coley back in 1993. Shortly after he started up the paper, I started writing a business column because I was in banking, making commercial loans here on the island, one of the few black lenders here. After a couple of years, Gary had asked me if I would help him find some investors and prepare a business plan and offering and so forth. And I did. Unfortunately, a lot of folks said they would support the paper by investing in it, but did not do that. And at that time I was a consultant, so my fee was kind of hanging out there. So Gary gave me stock instead of fee, so it was kind of a trade there. And that's how I wound up with 50% ownership. He's since retired and moved to Atlanta and kind of left me holding the bag, but I'm doing all I can.
Now, I know that stories about African Americans dominate the Community Journal, but is the Community Journal only for African Americans? For instance, one of our co-hosts on Cafe Long Island, Stefan Acevedo, he actually writes the Latino Perspectives column for your newspaper. Are a growing number of Hispanics reading the Community Journal?
That's a good question. I could not really answer that as far as a growing number of Hispanics. There are a lot of Hispanics who read the paper. There are a lot of white folks who read the paper. There are actually more white people that read the paper than there are black people, if you understand that. White folks actually have a thirst for knowledge, and that's not to put black people down, but we need to really understand the value of information, archiving information, and having it available, because that's our legacy. If we don't tell you about the journey, you'll make the same mistakes we made coming through it. And so having a paper, it's kind of not like a church, but it's definitely a component in the community, a building block in the community that has real value.
So what's the newspaper circulation, and how many communities do you serve?
Our circulation at its height was 10,000 a week, and that turned into a readership of about 25,000 to 2.5 people per household. We circulate throughout central Nassau. At one time, early on, we circulated throughout Long Island, Nassau and Suffolk, but we backed up. And so in Nassau County, we've got the village of Hempstead, Freeport, Malvern, Uniondale, Roosevelt, Baldwin, Lakeview, Westbury, and some of East Meadow.
What kinds of stories do you cover that people wouldn't find in, let's say, another newspaper?
We cover a lot of stories that are read in other newspapers. Not as many from Newsday, some from the Griot, some from the Black Press, some from Black World, and so on. Community news. One of the challenges that we find is that the community doesn't take advantage of the paper itself. It's there, and I make it a forum for everyone, even if I don't agree with your opinion, as long as you are respectful and you're not denigrating anyone particularly. What we find with the community newspaper, our paper, is it's a different perspective. From Newsday, if we do something wrong, everybody makes mistakes, but if someone does something wrong, you might see that on the front page over and over again. And the case in point was the young man from Hofstra who was a deputy county executive for a while, and then Silver. And so every other week you would see his face there. They were talking about $1,500 of whatever, but it was always something negative about it. This man did this man did that. Our paper, we talked about the issue because yes, it was an issue, and that was it. There's no more to be said. It's not your life story. It didn't define that man. There was a mistake made, or someone's interpretation of it was that. And that's fine for them. But we do a lot of good things. We need to talk about the good things we do. School districts, for example, and I don't want to go on and on and on, but we have a lot of children in our school districts who are not A students. And the thing is that I was a C student for a long time until someone lifted me up. And then I wanted to be an A student. Not because I learned more, but because I wanted people to know that, sure, I can do it too.
The Journal's motto is building community through positive communication. What do you mean by positive communication?
Positive communication is allowing a forum for people to voice their concerns and their interests. It's not specifically, let's talk about the good news all the time. You read the Bible for the good news. The newspaper is a different kind of a product. And what we try to do there is create a forum where people can share their information. But if we don't tell people about it, we don't create a forum where people can find information, we'll never know. And so all these things are going on in the community and no one's able to reference it. If you don't know, you don't know. And that's not a good thing. We want this whole community to feel empowered and to feel engaged and to know that whatever is happening here is important to you because it's about you, it's about our community.
Doesn't negative news sell more newspapers?
Negative news is negative news. You can get that anywhere. We all have issues. In the Black community, there are some specific issues. And where do you go for information if you just don't know? If it's not in your household, if it's not happening in your circle of people, you don't know. And so here you have an opportunity to see some things and to read about some things that you may not even know that, or you may just take for granted.
I know you've recently created an online edition of the Community Journal. Can you tell our viewership how they can reach your website?
Our website is communityjournal.info. We also have a blog. We have a publication on Issue, which is ISSUU, .communityjournal. Let's see. We're not printing hard copy. We didn't print this year. Times have been tough, if you will. But we're looking for sponsors, okay, to get back to hard copy printing, because people are comfortable with that. Online may be the way of the future, but a lot of folks still like to have their hands fairly touchy on the paper on Sunday mornings with their coffee and so on and so forth. And so we are waiting for those doors to open up, and we will be back in hard copy printing.
If somebody's interested in being a sponsor or just getting in touch with you, is the best thing to email you or call you? What's your contact information?
Call me, please. And the number is 516-384-0961. That's 516-384-0961. And the website again is communityjournal.info, or you can email me at montgomerybusiness@hotmail.com. montgomerybusiness@hotmail.com.
Larry, thanks for being my guest today. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thanks for having me, and God bless.
So Larry, you're really multi-talented. I see that you paint as well. How did you get into painting?
I got into painting back in 1972 when I was in the military. I was in the Air Force, stationed in Okinawa. I was actually a policeman. And I just brought my family over. And an album from the States, Donny Hathaway's album, just kind of struck me. I needed a little more cultural therapy at that particular time in my life. And I just sat down and gave me a chance to reflect on being back in the States, back in the old neighborhood, what life was like there. And so this is what it was.
So this painting, now that you mentioned Donny Hathaway, I totally get it. I can see Donny's hat. This is his signature look. What about the colors? How did I see some symbolism in that as well?
Well, clearly it's the red, black, and green, the colors of the time at that time. But colors don't really make you who you are, just as a point of reference. And I needed a point of reference at that time, someplace where I could say, I can hold on to, I'm still me, even though I'm in the military, even though we're in another country, and so on and so forth down the line. It just brought me a little peace at that particular time.
Well, life is very stressful these days, and you're doing a number of different things in the community besides the newspaper. And so I think it's wonderful that you found a way to really unleash some of your stress, and it's a creative outlet, and I think more people should turn to doing creative work.
Thank you. It helped me. I've held on to it too.
What is the big news story in Nassau County right now? What story do you think people need to be watching?
The elections in the villages, the mayoral elections per se. You have people who are going to be in office who make decisions that impact you within 30 days. Mm-hmm. It's not like the presidential election where it'll take 4 years before you feel the impact. But right here at the ground level, when they make a decision in Village Hall, within 30 days it's pretty much implemented, and it's on and popping, if you will.
Mm-hmm. So Anthony, how did you come up with the idea of opening up a soul food restaurant in downtown Hempstead?
Actually, it was our destiny. We originally looked at this location and it kind of slipped through our hands, and we said, you know, if it was meant to be, it would come back to us. And sure enough, they came back to us and sat down to the table, and they wanted us to open up the restaurant here. Also, it was a way for us to open up a black-owned business in Hempstead, which aren't many. And it was our way of opening up a restaurant, bringing back families, sitting down and having a meal, and we really, really want to give back to the community.
Where does the name Loli's come from?
Well, actually, that's my aunt's name, the late Ruth Haynes. I can remember, you know, having barbecues and parties, and just, you know, sometimes when I close my eyes, I can even smell some of the food, and we thought that it would be the right thing to put her name on those doors to express our love.
How long have you been in the restaurant business?
It's about 30 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So before coming to Hempstead, where were you?
Well, I worked in different areas. Usually it was in the Manhattan locations. I worked for different type of owner-operator restaurants and wholesale food distributions.
When people come here, what's the dish they absolutely must try? In other words, what's your specialty?
The barbecue salmon. It's one of my favorite dishes. It's one that I love to create. It was actually created by mistake. I was inside the kitchen, I was grilling some salmon, I wanted to marinate in something, and I didn't have the marinade that I wanted. So then I put some barbecue sauce on it and put it inside the oven. Lo and behold, it was full of flavor, and I think it's exactly what I think food should be, and it's an expression of, it's a full expression of how I love food. First we take the salmon, and the salmon is grilled. Once we grill the salmon on both sides, we then baste it in a honey barbecue sauce. And it's placed in an oven at 350 degrees. And we let that roast up, and when it's come out, it's nice, it's spicy, it's sweet, and it's buttery, just like a salmon should be.
So your specialty is barbecued salmon, but I know you also offer a lot of the other traditional soul food dishes.
Barbecue turkey wings and candied yams and collard greens. It's important to know that everything that we make here is made with turkey product. We use no pork on the premises. So it's just a way for us to also create a healthy product for, you know, our people.
You also have a jazz night, don't you?
Yes, we do. It's every last Friday of the month. We actually have one coming up on the 27th. It starts at 7 p.m. And if you want to buy tickets to the event, you can contact us here at Loli's, which is 516-280-7485, or you can contact us at lolisoulfood@gmail.com.
When I heard about Loli's, I was impressed with the idea that you wanted to offer social and cultural activities in addition to food. What gave you that idea to do that?
Well, we actually decided that, you know, if we really wanted this to be a community-based restaurant where we reached out to the community, it should also be a place where you can come and have great food, great music, and meet great people.
What was the community's response?
It was really, really wonderful. A lot of people showed up. The ambiance of the restaurant totally changed. It was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. Very lively and full of soul. It was great.
If someone's interested in performing at Loli's, whom should they get in contact with?
They can contact Lizette here at Loli's, and at the telephone number, which is 516-280-7485, or at our email address, which is lolisoulfood@gmail.com.
Thank you for being my guest today, Anthony.
Thank you for having me. Welcome to Loli's. Hi, I'm Chef Anthony. We're open 6 days a week, Tuesday through Thursday from 11 to 9 p.m., Fridays from 11 to 10, Saturdays from 8 to 10, and Sundays from 8 to 6 p.m. We also do on and off premises catering, so please come and join us.